like including my 14-year-old son, which he's done this, and I'm like, good job, but at the same time, don't do that. Can go to YouTube, learn how to do something and sell it. My kid's 14. He like told somebody that he knew how to edit video and sold the service. You know what I mean? And I'm like, good for you, but dude, come on, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm Armando Leduc, producer, film actor, and owner of Leduc Entertainment. I have chosen a life off the beaten path and wanted to find others that are doing the same. Spaghetti on the Wall is a show based on all of the years that I've thrown spaghetti on the wall and nurtured what stuck. We will share fun stories, ideas, tips, tricks, and more. Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you're consuming this podcast. Spaghetti on the Wall, back at it with Margarita Eberline or Eberline?
Eberline sounds good.
Eberline. Where are you from?
Yep. Originally, or like where was I born?
Yeah, where were you born? Where are you originally from?
So I'm a Californian via Mexican parents. So
Cool.
My country of origin is definitely Mexico.
And so what part of California?
San Fernando Valley, Southern California, born and raised.
Why did you move?
Wow, so I moved because I had a really awesome job opportunity with the Nielsen Company here in Atlanta, in Alpharetta, their satellite office. And I also just loved Atlanta. So even before that job opportunity came up, I thought, one of these days I'm going to live in Atlanta. I visited here and I fell in love with it. I know it's crazy, like with my background, why would I love it here? But I do.
I was just about to say, so I know you have a background in film, right?
Yep.
You worked, tell us about that.
So I've been in marketing, various aspects of it, for over 23 years, 24 years, 25 probably by now. And I started off with a passion for journalism, believe it or not. And I had a scholarship internship at NBC. And that led me to get into the film industry because one of the things that I learned in my scholarship internship was the value of doing things that make you happy. And I had this serendipitous moment of inspiration after graduating college to hunt down the founder of Latina Magazine because I thought she was just this amazing person, and it turned out we were working in the same building. And she and I happened to connect really well. And a month later, she calls me and she says, hey, I just got hired to be a producer on this movie called Spanglish, and I need like a right-hand girl. She's like, even though, because we had this friendly banter, because she went to Stanford and I went to Berkeley. She's like, even though you went to the tree hugger school, I really like your vibe. Like, we should work together. Come work with me on this film. And that's how I got into film. I was like, okay. Like, I was early 20s, fresh out of college, and I'm like, let's do this. So that's how I ended up in film. And then that led me to Nielsen because I had this drive, and I learned it from her really, to connect creative decisions with data. So I ended up with Nielsen, which then led me to Atlanta. So, yeah.
And so when did you decide to branch off and do your own thing?
It was shortly after a stint at Telemundo Atlanta. So I was with Nielsen. I left Nielsen. I decided to become a mom, so the traveling thing didn't really fit because when I was with Nielsen, I would travel a lot. I had 2 little boys at the time and decided to kind of slow things down. And I went to work at Telemundo, and I had this moment where I'm calling it a moment of consciousness where I was selling people advertising. This was, over 10 years ago. I was selling people advertising, and I found that a lot of these brick and mortar businesses that I was selling the TV advertising to, they weren't really monetizing it to its full potential because they didn't, and 10 years ago, they didn't have social media accounts. They didn't have a presence on Google. And so I would get into these conversations because I've always been a nerd. I'm always about reading and keeping up with things. And I would say, hey, if you listed your business on Google, whenever people see your TV commercial, they'll Google you and they'll find you online. It seems crazy hearing myself talking about it. And so I would find myself having these conversations with people, and I would give them advice. And a lot of them would take my advice and it would go well for them. And I got to the point where I'm like, why am I selling this single thing when I have these bigger ideas, these more strategic concepts to offer? And I left. And I left because I'm like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep selling TV advertising to people that are not monetizing it. It didn't feel good in my spirit. And so I left, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And I basically, because I'm a relationship person, I reached out to a lot of my favorite clients and I said, hey, such and such, I've decided to leave Telemundo. It's been great getting to know you. I'm going to figure out what my next steps are, but I'd love to stay in touch. I had that conversation with a lot of people, and the response was, come work for me, come work with me, help me. Like literally everything you told me to do helped my business, so I want more of that. And so that's how I ended up with my own agency, which, as a joke, because I didn't think it was going to be a thing. Like I thought I was going to freelance and call it a day. Because again, I was like, mom and like, figuring out what to do. And I called it Social Margarita because everybody was like, oh, you're so social. And so I'm like, I registered the LLC as Social Margarita as a joke, like, because I need, for tax purposes. And then I started to get recommendations, referrals, and I grew my business. Next thing I knew, I had this full service agency, and I'm like, okay, I have to get serious now. And like, this is a serious business. And I, was billing a pretty decent amount of money and, needed a lawyer, an accountant, and like, I had to get serious. And so I got a DBA called 360 Marketing Plus. And that was when I really put myself out there as an agency. And shortly after that, I partnered with a couple of other agencies that did not work out, blew up in my face. And I started over with Marketing Boss with a different concept, which is what I have now. So it's not an agency. It's more of a fractional CMO services company that really focuses on empowering and educating people. And they're mostly business owners and their staff. So where the typical solution is, I don't like my agency, I'm not happy with my marketing, or whatever the irritation is, I need another one. Our solution is always, no, you need to get better at managing your expectations. You need to be a better boss and lead these teams so that you can actually get what they want. Because what I was finding when I had my agency, I saw this a lot where people didn't know what they want. So like they would come and buy social media services. And then they would say, I don't have any new clients, I'm firing you. And I'm like, you never asked for leads. You asked for social media content. Like, get clear on what it is that you want. And I saw that pattern and I'm like, I want to educate business owners so they can actually figure out what it is that they want. They can set objectives that are measurable and they can be happy. And I want to teach people, and I love teaching. So now what we do is, we come into a situation like where there's an agency or a staff or whatever, and we tell the business owner, don't fire them, don't, no off with their heads, calm down, like let's give them clear instructions and see what that does. And then sometimes that improves things because they're having more of a clear communication about what the business actually needs and what's expected. And then we fill in gaps with training. So we have this whole like library of resources that we offer to our clients, their vendors, their staff, so they can learn how to do better with the, SEO, with email marketing, with whatever they need. And we're all about just teaching and training. So that's how I started with my own business, and then that's how it became what it is now. I answered two parts of the question that you didn't ask.
No, for sure. So how are you, and I've noticed this in my business too, right? Like, you start off with the marketing in one aspect, and then it turns into more consultations. Are you just stopping at the marketing end of things, or do you get into like the processes and procedures also?
Oh yeah. So because we don't have a marketing team and we don't implement, we can afford to only spend time really noodling through what's really happening with your business. What does it really need? Like, I have a really awesome, case study with an attorney, and she said this to me. It's not like it was the strategy, but she was like, you literally came in here and gutted my entire business, not just the marketing, but you gutted my sales processes, my intake processes, and simple things like customer experience. Once I signed up a new client, and I feel like a weight has been lifted. Like, I didn't even realize I had these problems. And she thought her problem was marketing. When I started working, when I started working with her, she was frustrated by a social media agency, and she thought that was her problem. She thought that the social media agency just wasn't doing a good job. But I got in there and I'm like, no, like, you got other issues here. Like, the phone's ringing, like, what's really happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, we do get into other spaces as well. We have process conversations. We have sales conversations. I actually just launched a sales and intake course for law firms inspired by my clients, because I kept teaching people how to sell to really leverage marketing. And I'm like, I'm going to turn this into an online course to save myself time and to provide greater value to my clients that are in this particular space. But I've had other people, that work at spas and real estate companies take the course, and it still applies. Any kind of service, business, it still applies. Because it's not just about getting the phone to ring. It's what are you doing with that lead? Like, how are you remarketing to them? That's all connected.
Yeah, 100%.
Which I'm sure you deal with a lot of that.
All the time. It's so funny. Well, because we'll start with, hey, we need to start marketing your business. Or they'll come to me, I want videos and this. And then I'm like, okay, great. Before we can start doing all of that, what's the development phase? Right? Like, just like a movie, who's the audience? How are we targeting? What's the messaging? Like the log line, the whole nine, right? And I think that's where we come from, is sort of that film background, is, how do we make a movie, right? And like, how do we, think about the distribution and all of that stuff ahead of time. But then, you run into so many problems on their processes and procedures. Be like, it doesn't matter if I give you 100 clients coming through your door on a monthly basis. You can't handle it. You don't even know.
Right.
You would be so overwhelmed. You'd be drowning. Then you're going to get bad reviews, right? And then it's really not going to work. So before we even get into that, like, let's talk about where you're at, and really where you're at,
right.
And who's guiding you on this process, So it just. It does become that sort of feel, but I like it though. I do enjoy, the coaching aspect and the consulting aspect, of this whole thing, but that it does work. But it's
tough. Like I remember it was tough for me when I was in an agency role to fully serve my clients in that capacity, because I was too busy managing the team that was fixing the stuff. That's a full-time job. So I really feel for you, but a lot of vendors that do marketing or, make video, they'll refer to marketing boss because they get burnt out. Like, here, she'll fix you. So, because it's exhausting. It's a lot. I commend you for being so devoted to the consulting piece, because, it's a lot.
Well, it helps. It behooves us, right? Because like if it isn't working, right, then they're not going to keep us on, because they're like, well, Armando, stop bringing me people. I can't even handle it, So at that point, I'm like, okay, how do I keep them here? You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, well then now we got to solve problems, But like do you ever follow the DISC, the DISC personality types? You familiar with that?
So I recently did a little orientation with one of the consultants that I've hired to help me with my business. He kind of walked me through the benefits of that. So I'm just now starting to get familiar with it. And it is helpful.
It's very
it's
helpful.
Almost like the 5 love languages, but like the professional version of it is what I understood.
It's so funny you talk about the 5 love languages, because I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a book that was the 5 love languages, but for business, right?
Yeah,
like
I think there is.
Is there? I mean, it should be if they're not, but like thinking about.
So I think I've seen something. Yeah.
Yeah. How because part of the customer journey is like the gift giving or giving back to the client, but some people don't really care about the gift, right? Like maybe they want the quality time, which is why like, I figured out on some of my clients, their quality time. Let's go play golf, So now I have a golf buddy that we have, and then it's like, okay, but this person likes gifts. Let's go in on the gift. So it'd be fun to really think about that. But back to the DISC personality types, I read a book called Taking Flight, and it talks about the DISC personality types in terms of birds. So the eagle is the D personality types. He like soars above, and he's the 30,000 foot view and super impulsive and not necessarily bird oriented and very quick. And then the I personality types are the parrots, and they're like, the party and flashy and flamboyant and, bird oriented. And then you have the pigeons or the doves, either the pigeons or the doves that are like, slow moving, and they want to, it's all about the feel and the nurture aspect. And then you have the owls that are C personality types that are like all about the numbers and very analytical and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, it was really good to know. And it's been helping me, not just with my clients, but like, internally with staff, where it's just like, oh, okay, let's have a little bit more grace with this person because this is their personality type, and let's not just, this person doesn't get it. Be like, well, this person doesn't get it. What's that?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I need to add that to my reading list. I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. I thought it was a really good idea on how to like tell that story through like birds, or just like I love when business books and just any kind of books like that can tell a story, but with a story and not just like give me information.
In marketing speak, I say they gave the personas avatars.
Yes.
In the form of birds.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a book yet? Are you going to write a book?
So I am writing a book. It's being edited right now.
Cool.
It's How to Be a Marketing Boss, the ultimate guide to marketing for bosses. And it's all about marketing, but it's written specifically for business owners. So it doesn't get into the weeds or the technical stuff. It's like, here's what you need to know about SEO so you can buy it from somebody who knows what they're doing. Here's what you need to know about websites so you can make sure that yours is made to do what you need it to do, and really helping business owners think through what they need, because literally that is what I do every day. I help business owners figure out what they need, how to articulate it using my knowledge of marketing, and I've packaged it into a book. And was inspired by, I have like probably 100 blogs by now. I'm a huge blogger, and they're all about marketing, and everything is written for business owners. So everything that I've put out there really inspired this book, because I saw a pattern where I'm like, wait a minute, like I feel like these are the common patterns. And then I thought, okay, those blogs, I'm going to now morph them into this book. And that's how I was able to do that.
Very cool.
With such a busy lifestyle.
I love it.
And I've written it myself. I majored in rhetoric. I love to write, and it's a passion for me, but I am getting somebody to edit it for me just in case, second set of eyes. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Talk to me about SEO. We hear about it all the time. Is it changing? What's the news?
Yeah.
What's the news on the SEO front?
So SEO is really simple. And I feel like people overcomplicate it. And it's a lot of hard work. So it can be simple, but a lot of hard work. And that's where it gets confusing for business owners. So specifically just, or in general, right? SEO is optimizing your content for search. That's really what it is. It's making sure that your content is the best that it can possibly be. So it's the easiest piece of content to come up in search. Where it gets complicated and time consuming and expensive is if you're in a space, say personal injury law, right? Where everybody and their mom is like trying to be that first position organically, right? Then you got a lot of work cut out for you, and that's where it gets expensive. And so, I see with SEO where people overcomplicate it and they make it way too technical, and they miss out on the beauty of writing a blog that's interesting, right? Like you can have an SEO optimized blog or SEO optimized landing page or website or whatever that checks all the boxes, but it's boring. No one wants to read it. Like it'll, no one's going to want to spend time there. Or it's not boring, but it's targeting the wrong audience. Like I can put a viral video I have, on social media, but if it's not my intended audience, what good is that to me? It's the same thing with SEO. That's where it gets so confusing and so complicated, and where people miss the mark is they think, oh, I just need to be seen. And no, it's like you need to be seen, but by the right people. Like I was auditing a site for a client, and I used funny word choice. I said, what in the world is your SEO company doing targeting people in Africa? Like 30% of, this is a personal injury law firm in a specific state in the US, I won't say who, but 30% of their traffic was coming from Africa. Like, what in the world?
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sure it looks pretty on a report, that you have millions of views, but I'm like, that really converting into clients for you and your personal, I'm going to say personal injury law firm in Nebraska. I'm going to call it Nebraska.
Let me ask you this. Are people buying
don't you
these?
Want traffic in Nebraska?
Are people buying this SEO traffic?
So one of the ways that you do it is it's called Black Hat SEO, where you basically embed links in places that are already getting high traffic, and you use things like clickbait or whatever to like trick people into clicking on your stuff. And you can see it because there's usually like a high bounce rate. It's like you click on stuff and you get out because it's not what you're really wanting. It's like a deceitful practice. That's one way that people do it. Or they pay other sites and they say, hey, you have a high traffic site, let me pay you and put one of my pieces of content here, or put some of my links on your stuff. It's nice when it's done organically. Like I link a lot of my blogs to external sources as a reference, because I'm not just making stuff up. I have other references to what I'm saying. So it's nice when it happens organically and Google rewards you for it. But again, the black hat is when you're playing the system and you're putting links in random places just because it has, high traffic, like,
right.
EDU websites. Like what would a college student really, did they get in an auto accident in Nebraska? Like, at the University of California? Like, no, that's like black hat SEO all the way. It's like they're just stuffing links wherever there's traffic to make the numbers look good. And then, there are people that they use bots. They use bots to drive up traffic. That happens too. Is
Google aware of this, and is it dinging their site as a result?
Google is aware of it. When they catch these things, it ultimately ends up hurting you. So one of the metrics that Google uses to rank sites is the bounce rate. So if you're getting a ton of traffic, but your bounce rate is really high and your site is not converting, and I'll translate that into plain English in a second, then that's like a series of symptoms that you're doing something wrong. And over time, Google will see the combination of these symptoms and start to penalize you. So what does it mean? If I'm getting a lot of traffic and people are bouncing right out at a high rate, right? It could be for one of two reasons. One is because I'm using unethical or deceitful means to get the traffic there and they're not interested. I'm clicking sale on flowers and I'm selling them shoes, right? That's an easy example to understand. Another reason is my content is so efficient that people get in and I'm selling black shoes and they're clicking on a button that says black shoes and they know right away. They either like the shoes or not. So they bounce right out, not because they're not interested, but because they are interested. They understood what was being offered and they didn't want it. And that's okay, as long as people are interested in buying. So like, I'll give you an example. I was auditing another site and their bounce rate went from 12%, because when it was a brand new website, like the first month, okay? It was 12%, it went up to 75%. And they're like, should we be worried? And I'm like, no, because I can see that people are filling out your forms, the phone is ringing, so I'm not concerned. Your bounce rate went up because your website is so efficient, like your stuff is so organized that people quickly find out, do they want to hire you or not? Are they interested in the next step or not? And then they bounce right out. I would be concerned if it went from 12% to 75% bounce rate and people were not buying, people were not calling, and Google sees that as well. They see that type of activity and they see the combination of things, and they either penalize you or reward you over time. But here's where it gets tricky. Really crafty black hat SEO companies, what they do is they work so hard and they spend so many hours doing these, I'm going to call it deceitful SEO things, that they generate so much traffic that by the time something hurts them, they just delete it and it doesn't matter because they've already replaced that traffic with some other weird source. So like, to give you an example, the Africa example, by the time Google caught up with that, they've already put links on some other site. So when that goes away and they get penalized, they've increased it somewhere else. And it's like this constant, it's like dumping water out of a leaky boat. Like, it's a lot of work. They charge a lot of money because they're doing all this labor, but it's like so inefficient. And at the end of the day, it doesn't give you more clients. It won't.
Right.
It just won't. Because it's not the audience you really need. It's just numbers. It's like inviting a bunch of people to your birthday party and none of them are your friends. Like, yeah, the house is full, but the point of that. So
what are your thoughts on a website these days besides, attorneys? Wouldn't a landing page that gets them to convert be more just a better way to go?
Absolutely. And it really depends on your industry. So like one of my clients is a aesthetic spa, and they were thinking they needed this like robust website, when I'm like, no, you just need something simple where people can see your services and just book their appointment or book a consultation and call it a day. Like, you don't need a bunch of content. It's a different business model. And based on where they were in their business, a SEO strategy or a content strategy, by the time it pays off in their space, like it wouldn't be worth all that money and all that work. It was easier to have a simple landing page and just run ads on Google, so that when people were searching for Botox or whatever, microdermabrasion, their stuff would pop up, people would book and call it a day. That's what made sense for their business. So for a lot of businesses that are in that same situation, I make the recommendation, like, keep it simple and make sure that people can, that it looks nice, that people can appreciate your look, your feel, and all of that, and just run ads. That's actually what I usually recommend to people that are just starting out, that, haven't been around for too long. Like, that's my usual recommendation, is simple and run ads.
What kind of ads are you telling them to run?
Usually Google. If it's, again, it just depends on the business, but let's see. You can get more hits to your ads on social media in some instances, but the quality of the leads is usually lower. And again, this is not just in the legal space, this is in any business. And think about it, it's logical. If I'm on social media to, stalk my, exes from 20 years ago or whatever people do on social media, right? Or watch puppy videos or dog videos or whatever, I'm not thinking about shopping. I'm not thinking about solving a problem. I'm escaping the stuff I need on social media. That's usually why people go. They're just there to entertain themselves. Versus the mindset of somebody on Google is, I have a problem. I'm looking for a solution. I'm researching the results. I'm shopping. It makes more sense to sell them something with an ad than on social media, where I'm just minding my business. Oh yeah, your exercise program. Next, like, I don't care. Like, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm in my 40s, but I've been getting bombarded by so many ads on social media for like exercise stuff. And I'm just like so over it. If anything, it's like starting to really bother me. Like, it makes me not want to buy their stuff. Will I accidentally click on the ad as I'm trying to get past it? Yes. And guess what? They're going to get charged for me as a lead when I was trying to just skip them, when I was trying to just scroll past. That happens a lot on social media. So 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, whatever statistic you want to make up there, I tell people, just advertise on Google. People have a problem, you have a solution, direct. The shortest distance between your prospect and you is going to be a Google ad for most cases. I don't like to make general statements like that, but I'm just giving, in general,
sure.
Right?
And these Google
different.
ads, are they?
This is different, but that's my logic.
Are they image based? They're word based, or are you A/B testing?
I think word-based is going to be most effective because that's what shows up easiest. The image-based ads are going to be mostly for remarketing. So like if I'm Googling black shoes and I see an ad for black shoes, from the text, I can click on it. If it fits the description of what I'm looking for, I'm going to click on it. It's going to lead me to a landing page or whatnot. And then later on, when I'm minding my business on Amazon, I might see an actual visual banner ad for those same ad that I clicked on before. Like, that makes sense. The image-based ads work best when they're remarketing or retargeting ads. I don't usually recommend just image-based unless you're trying to just be popular and be seen and you're not really concerned about results as much. Then that makes a little bit more sense. But I usually recommend search ads that pop up the search engine, or the location ads that pop up in the location section on Google with, a combination of remarketing. So with banner ads, emails, stuff like that. Maybe even social media remarketing, that works too.
Do you guys handle all of that stuff in-house?
We don't implement any marketing. We have teams that we can refer out. So we actually get asked a lot about vendors. We have a whole directory on our website where people can self-search. These are all vetted, people that have passed the crazy test. Like, we know they know what they're doing. We trust them. They're vetted vendors that you can just research on our website, on our directory. And then obviously if you're a client, we'll help you with that process. So right now I had a client that said, hey, I'm running ads and I'm getting calls from people that speak Spanish. We need somebody that can answer these calls. We did some research, vetted a couple of vendors, and we're like, okay, you have 3 vendors that you can connect with. See which one you connect with the most, and then we'll help you get set up. So that's usually how we work that piece. We do have a preferred PPC vendor that we seem to be referring a lot, but it just really depends on the client, their budget, their needs, and all of that. In some cases, we'll train people to just run ads. We had a client that they had a family business, and it was 3 different companies in their family business, and they wanted somebody in-house to just run ads. So we hired a team, or we subcontracted a team like of actual PPC vendors to train their in-house team so that they can just do it themselves. So we do that as well. We build teams in-house.
What's the crazy test? How do you guys crazy test these people?
The crazy test. Listen, we're really big believers in, like, there are some people that are just, easy to work with, that know how to communicate their needs, wants, opinions in a clear, respectful manner. And to us, those things are fundamental. We really, really surround ourselves and are very selective with our clientele so that, it's positive energy. It's people that are wanting to grow. There's something called marketing PTSD that I came up with that label. Maybe it's out there already, but there are some business owners that have so much marketing PTSD and they're so far gone that really, even if you're trying to help them, you just can't, because everything's negative, everything's a problem, everything's woe is me, here we go again. And it's like, we try to be a place of healing. So we work with vendors that understand, hey, some of these business owners have had bad experiences, have had, some bumps that they're still healing from. Are you able to help them through that and not get defensive? Like, we really look for that with the vendors that we work with. We look for vendors that are able to take feedback, that are able to ask questions before getting defensive, that understand that it's all coming from a place of, hey, we just want to both help the client. Like, I'll give you an example of a vendor that did not pass the crazy test was, we had a PPC vendor that we trained. We gave them every single resource, helped them as much as possible, but no matter what, they just wouldn't follow through on their end. And whenever they were questioned or challenged, like, hey, why wasn't this done? Or, did you not understand the task? It was, oh, well, always some excuse. And it's like, listen, that's not going to help you or anybody here. Like, let's just, we like to work with vendors, and we like to recommend with vendors that are like, all right, even if you make a mistake, because we're human, right? Oh man, all right, you know what? I got that wrong. Let me fix it. It'll be done in 2 days, or it'll be done in 5 days, or it'll be done in whatever, but just own it, fix it, move on. Like, that's what we look for in order to make sure that you can pass the crazy test. So not a lot to ask, right?
No, you touch on a good subject as far as people getting PTSD from marketing, because just this whole, I do not understand why. I'm trying to figure it out, but I have not figured out why this particular sector of business, like just marketing professionals, we'll call them, why they're so just bad at what they do.
Because there's no quality control. It's not like being a doctor or a lawyer where you have to be certified, where you have to, anybody, including my 14-year-old son, which he's done this, and I'm like, good job, but at the same time, don't do that, can go to YouTube, learn how to do something and sell it. My kid's 14. He told somebody that he knew how to edit video and sold the service. You know what I mean? And I'm like, good for you, but dude, come on, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? You have some basic skills. And he's like, well, I did better than the guy that hired me. So, and I'm just like, let's not, poison the well here. But because I really am passionate about that. I really get frustrated, and maybe this is some healing that I need to do, with people that have no business selling marketing services, that are really good salespeople, that know how to charm, wine and dine, whatever, and they poison the well. And these poor business owners get, they're promising me the moon and stars, and
Right.
and they know how to tell business owners what they want to hear. And they get in, they make their money, they get out. And by the time the business owner figures out that it's not working, or starts to kind of get a sense of, oh my God, I just wasted my money, I just got duped, the vendor or the freelancer or whatever has 5 other clients to take their place, and they're like, peace out. And that's how it goes.
That's
how it goes. It's very
unfortunately.
frustrating to us, to me
Yeah,
in
extremely.
particular, but my entire team. I think we're all very like-minded in that way. Like, we're really protective of business owners, and because these are their babies. I don't know, you probably have kids, right? Like, I have
do.
5 little boys. Like, to me, a business
got
is
5
like a little
kids?
baby. I do. I have 5 little boys.
You got an
And
army.
I do.
That's amazing.
I do. They're, I guess, the basketball team.
How do you do it?
So I don't do it all myself. I have a really amazing, partner in crime. Their father is an amazing person and really, really involved, and just on top of his game, really, with the kids, and has given me the opportunity to grow as an entrepreneur and supported me. I travel too a lot. In my spare time, I do women's empowerment speaking all over the world, and I talk about, just really being resourceful is the key. If you're a mom and you have kids, whether it's, your spouse, your extended family, or whatever, you need support. Even if it's just one kid.
Yeah.
I think you need support. You can't do it all alone.
100%. I got to go pick up the little one after this and go to music. So I'm taking her to music school.
That's awesome.
She's 3, so it's been fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, when you have 5, you're like, look, I'm gonna meet your basic needs. I'm like, we don't have time for hobbies. Like,
Wow.
I mean, none of my kids has shown an interest in anything, so I think if they did, we would probably figure out a way. But I'm just like, thank God, they just want to go to school, go home, game. They do their hobbies at home, crafting, whatever.
There you go.
So,
Well, look, this went by quick. Margarita, tell them where they can find you.
you can go to my website, margaritaeberline.com, or marketing-boss.com. I'm also all over social media. Some people say a little bit too much. It's my hobby, my passion.
I don't think so.
I
follow you.
LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. I'm everywhere. You can just search me by name.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I love these. We'll probably have you on again because I love these interviews where it's just like, man, that was 40 minutes. And be like, oh, wow, that's quick. So
Yes.
you're super knowledgeable.
Thank you so much for having me.
100%. You guys, if you guys are in need of marketing help, Margarita, she's legit. Definitely vouch for her. I met her at a mastermind. And so she's, she definitely does what she says she does, talks the talk, walks the walk, and really a really good professional. And she can definitely help your business. So reach out to her. And that's our show, brought to you by Leduc Entertainment for all of your video and social media marketing needs. And you can always watch Spaghetti on the Wall on YouTube and catch it on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere where you can find a podcast. And I'll see y'all next week.